Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, Falcon Nation. Before I introduce myself to portray the gravity of the occasion, I just want to read a quote by Dr. Carter G. Woodson, who's considered the father of black history. The quote goes like this: "If you can control a man's thinking, you do not have to worry about his action. When you determine what a man shall think, you do not have to concern yourself about what he will do. If you make a man feel that he is inferior, you do not have to compel him to accept an inferior status, for he will seek it himself." Today's forum, the objective of today's forum is to point out through the arts and through music how African American people have affected this world in the most positive ways through music. My name is Christopher Smith. I'm a professor of music and the new choir director here at Simmons College of Kentucky. Thank you. Thank you so much. And I have the esteemed pleasure for being your MC this morning. I hail from Central State University, and I think that this forum is so awesome just because you are engaging the community that you are housed in, and it's the true meaning of forum, which means to provide a public place to come and share and discuss ideas. And so I think that I want to just convey just how beautiful having these forums is, to connect students with community members, to have some sense of cooperative education where you get to share ideas, where the students get to give comments and the community get to give comments and kind of dig deeper into different ideas and issues that are plaguing or that are very desirable and people want to know about in urban areas. So without any further ado, I would like to introduce my colleague, Dr. Mondre Moffett. Dr. Moffett is a well-known figure in black music, especially in jazz. In our conversations, we've discussed how his relationships with the Marcellus family has intersected back and forth over the last almost 40 years, where he has played with them and they've played with him, and not just him but his family. He's taught and traveled all over the world, been signed to numerous labels, and he's taught so many people. I know he just can't stand it. And we are so blessed to be able to have a man of his figure here at Simmons College of Kentucky. So without any further ado, I would like to introduce the man, my man, Dr. Mondre Moffett.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Chris. It's a joy to be able to have you among us and working with us. And welcome and good morning to this beloved community. I am really, really excited about the things that are going on and things that we have been engaged with over the past year. Black music, black musicology, what is it? Well, first of all, let me say that what we will be dealing with is celebrating the performance traditions of African American music, the rhythm of the people. So we want to make sure that we define very clearly what it is that we're doing. Musicology is basically the study of music, but when you look at black music, there are certain musical characteristics that are unique to black music. There are certain core values that are housed in their characteristics. And I wanted to bring up the fact that when you study black music, you're really identifying a fingerprint and a footprint of the music. The footprint is our call to freedom. Those are walking papers. So we're walking in the footsteps of giants. And the fingerprint of the music has to do with our identity. If you look at the tree that I have up, it gives you a glimpse of this call for freedom. You see the spirituals at the bottom is the soil of the tree. Everything comes from the Negro spiritual. Paul Robeson said an artist must elect to fight for freedom or slavery. The great Paul Robeson, who was a colleague, well, he was a mentor of the great Robert Todd Duncan, a Simmons graduate. I think Duncan was born in 1903 and Robeson was born in 1897. But Robeson really set the tone for what an artist should be about, what the music should be about. Ultimately, this music is about in pursuit of freedom. Then if you look at the tree, the genres that are connected, they're all interconnected. From the folk genres of the spirituals, from the work songs that's a part of the folk genres in the soil of black music. You have the field hollers, the ring shouts, and then the spiritual was actually used in the field as well to give instructions to the enslaved on what we should be doing and how we're going to get away. And for example, you'll hear wading in the water. Wading in the water is that cult spiritual that says, you know, make sure that you get in the water. Don't swim, but just wade in the water to lose your scent so that the hound dogs will not chase you. And then we go over up, you see the blues and geographic location of Congo Square. In jazz, the vine has many branches, different styles. And the reason we celebrate, because what a prolific body of work. You know, unwittingly, we celebrate it. It's a large body of work, starting with the Negro spirituals. I think spirituals, the music, you know, slave songs of the United States was one of the first publications of Negro spirituals. It's a large body of work. And how did our ancestors miraculously create this large body of work given the set of circumstances and the obstacles in their way? They were able to create this hundreds of Negro spirituals, and diverse, because you had the sorrow song, you had the Jubilee, and as you know, we later had the Fisk Jubilee Singers, and we also had the cult songs, and they had different meaning. The sorrow song, and I would like for you to first of all understand that we march to the beat of the drum. The drum. Somebody say the drum. A time of celebration, a time of awareness, a time of beating to harvesting, to events of marriages, a time to celebrate and a call to arms, a time for peace. The drum. Comes out of the oral tradition, and we must take the time to interview our elders to get those stories, those griots, the storyteller, transmitting history and customs from one generation to the next. The griot, the trumpeter, the drummer, telling the story of our history, passing down the knowledge, not only vertical but horizontal. The drum. A call to freedom. Until one day, the drum was silent. African traditions captured and chained. Millions of African souls denied a fingerprint, denied their identity. A loss of freedom. And that began a journey, an unspeakable journey. The reflections of the middle passage, a prayer for lament, and Dr. King said in a 1964 speech when he was emceeing a jazz concert, he indicated that it's something sweet about the sweet sounds of sorrow that cause black music to be triumphant. I wrote this song in tribute as I reflected upon the middle passage.
Journey to a place we shall come to know His grace, traveling in a rocky boat, bound and chained so there's no hope. The sweet sounds of sorrow come freedom, freedom. I am here, so let me be in this country, tears of thee, traveling in a rocket boat, where there's love, there's always hope. The sweet sounds of sorrow come freedom. As we rise from this place, dancing in my sacred space, tell me story to your jazz, singing the blues, I'm free at last. The sweet sounds of sorrow come sweet sound of sorrow.
I took a line, I borrowed a line from Dr. King's speech when he was talking about the sweet sounds of sorrow. And I was inspired by that when I was able to write this particular piece about it for the musicians. Corey Arthur on percussion, Corey Gaines on piano, and Tanita Gaines on piano. Indeed, in the very foundation of American music, the cornerstone of American music is the Negro spiritual. And basically three types: sorrow song, which the blues come from, the cult song, which we talked about wading in the water, coded language. The cult song, it wasn't for everybody. It's not a popular music that's for the masses. It's just for those individuals who were interested in seeking freedom. The cult. And then the Jubilee. Now, the Jubilee was this celebration of life. But you can't stop there, but it also was a rejection of Satan. It was the resistance. And when the Fifth Jubilee singers traveled the world, it was really a courageous act. They were singing Jubilees, but they were also talking about songs of resistance and celebrating heroic figures such as Jesus and other heroic figures, the griots in their village, in their community. But from these three spirituals, it is my thesis that all of American music comes from one of these three types. Let's take a listen and look. Three types of Negro spirituals. We heard the wade in the water, which brings us to the fact that all of the Negro spirituals were danced to. The ring shout, there was a very much of tradition in African culture where you get in a circle and then you would invoke the spirit, call on the spirit and dance. You see it sometimes even here at St. Stephen, by the way. When the shout, the screams, the Negro spirituals were all done in the authentic sense, a cappella with no musical accompaniment. And that led to the blues, which is a direct inheritance of Negro spirituals. They both share the pentatonic scale. The blues come directly from the work songs. And it is a post-Civil War music phenomenon, much like the spirituals in terms of being a music phenomenon, this large body of work. The spirituals came about in the mid to late 17th century. A lot of musicologists feel that they germinated in the mid 1800s and led to this phenomenal artistic music now, even though you had some folk blues. Blues music, post-Civil War, 1865. And one of the key figures in my mind of blues music, this figure, Robert Johnson, Mississippi Delta, country blues artist. Country blues, again, is on the vine of blues, but there are many branches. The branches, you have country blues, you have urban blues, they all had different characteristics. The boogie-woogie blues, you had the jazz blues, but the country blues, with Robert Johnson, made a really profound statement in the whole lexicon of blues music. I want to tell you the story about Robert Johnson. He was known to be such a phenomenal musician. He could play the guitar. He would sound like he was 2 or 3 players at one time. The great jazz producer John Hammond gave this concert at Carnegie Hall in 1936, and it was called From Spirituals to Swing. And he went to Mississippi to engage Robert Johnson. Robert Johnson had just passed several years before. And Robert Johnson was one of 3 performers on this concert. And what he did was played a recording of Robert Johnson to a live audience in Carnegie Hall as a finale, as part of the finale of the piece of the concert. And Robert Johnson's recording generated a standing ovation from the audience. Let's get a sampling of Robert Johnson's trying to shake, just like the spiritual weight in water, try to shake his scent with this piece called Hellhound on My Trail. He sprinkled a little powder around the door. Hellhound on my trail, coded language to some extent.
I gotta keep moving, gotta keep moving, hell time on my trail. I gotta keep moving, hell on my trail. If today was Christmas Eve, I gotta keep moving all the way. Yeah, oh yeah. If today was Christmas Eve and tomorrow was Christmas Day, if today was Christmas Eve and tomorrow was Christmas Day, all we have to do, baby, is take the time away.
All right, Corey. Indeed. So you hear the storytelling, and he would just often just make it up as he go. Hellhound on my trail. He was having a dream that he would be lynched because his father was lynched, and this dream would haunt him. And he would, sometimes you have to sing the blues to get rid of the blues. You know what I mean? That brings us up to the 1900s, this prolific music called jazz, and you had so many styles. I was listening to the young Samara Joy yesterday. She's keeping that language, the language of jazz alive. I think she's 25 or 26 years old, doing a phenomenal job, sounding like Sarah Vaughan and Ella. She's walking in the footsteps of those giants. But Louis Armstrong, the first style of jazz, New Orleans style jazz, and even Louis Armstrong had a mentor. We need mentors. Louis Armstrong's mentor was King, I love that, Buddy Bolden. You had King Oliver, and then you had the Duke of Ellington, and you had Grammy Award winner from a couple nights ago, Count Basie. You had the Lady Day, Billie Holiday. You had Ella, the first lady of song, and Sassy Sarah, and Bebop Betty. These were names of uplifting, codifying, supporting, and encouraging the beloved community. Louis Armstrong was the first great improviser. He didn't want to play the music as it was written. He wanted to go off and play and make up his own part, to create as he go. Dr. King said that God endowed his creatures to create, and out of this capacity to create, they came up with this beautiful music called jazz. Indeed, and even that particular piece that Louis Armstrong and all of his colleagues were playing in Congo Square and around New Orleans and Storyville, it was also Saints is also a spiritual. So you can see how this music is all connected. Now, this is a fascinating, prolific artist, Arizona Drains. In the 1920s, she introduced this gospel music. Now, you had gospel hymns before that, but Arizona Drains is known as the first gospel pianist. And, you know, the gospel music had begun to incubate from 1903 from the Azusa Street Revival, the Second Great Awakening. The First Great Awakening occurred in 1734 in the New England states. But you had, in 1913, you had the Great Awakening, the Azusa Street Revival, and that revival is still happens today and celebrated, where they met on the Azusa Street in Los Angeles. And all the folks came from the South, and it was an old-time revival, and the pouring out of the Holy Spirit, the fervor of the preaching, that caused a whole new movement of music to emerge. Every movement had a soundtrack. And this gospel music, by the 1920s, gospel music emerged, with Arizona Drains being the first gospel pianist. She came out of the ragtime of jazz, because you can hear it in her playing, and created this gospel music that really didn't come to real fruition until as late as the 1932, in fact, when the first gospel choir was formed at Pilgrim's Baptist Church in Chicago. Thomas Dorsey, who's known as the father of gospel music that you may hear, he formed that choir in 1932. And a young 5 or 6 or 7-year-old James Cleveland was in that choir, 1932. But instead of rehearsing the greatness of Thomas Dorsey, I wanted you to know about Arizona Drains. And so prolific, she had many recordings on OK Records in the 20s. And that was really pretty innovative. They called it race records during that time. We have to check out Arizona Drains. But I'd like to push the envelope forward and do a little bit of snippet of a gospel representation of a group that I had the privilege and honor to work with when I lived in California, the Hawkins family. They wrote a little thing called "Oh Happy Day." Some of you may have heard it. It was groundbreaking recording. And I got a chance to work with Edwin and Hawkins in the mid-90s on the Love Alive 4 album. It was this video and it's a record. And I really didn't realize the magnitude of that record. It has "Thank You" on it, and all the churches sing "Thank You." And every time I hear it, I said, you know what? I'm on that record. And so it was a wonderful thing working with the Hawkins family. The guys were geniuses in terms of songwriting. But let's hear a little bit of "Oh Happy Day."
Happy day, oh happy day, oh when Jesus won, oh when he won, when Jesus won, he washed my sins away. Oh, what a happy day. He taught me how, yes he did, to watch, fight and pray. My Lord, fight and pray.
All right. Oh, happy day. 1940s, an explosion happened in black music. We talk about the performance traditions are rich and diverse. 1940s, the golden age of gospel music, and then bebop. Charlie Parker and those cats, Dizzy Gillespie, Sarah, and everybody, Carmen McRae, Uptown Harlem was still, and Louis Armstrong still playing. And then you have the rhythm and blues explosion in 1940s. In black music, you had the golden age of gospel, jazz inventing a whole new music, and then you had rhythm and blues, all in the same, all in the same space. This phenomenal creativity. And then you still had ragtime piano, Scott Joplin, those guys. But this king, the father of rhythm and blues, Louis Jordan, Choo 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 My Boogie, Saturday Night Fish Fry, all of those songs that Little Richard and those guys took and created this whole thing about rock and roll came from this boogie woogie blues.
Choo, choo, choo your boogie choo. Well, choo, 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 choo your boogie choo. Little choo, choo, boogie choo. Woo, choo, 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 boogie choo. Little choo, 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 choo your boogie choo.
Tanita Gaines. The core values of African American music, of black music, call and response. These are characteristics, attributes of African vocality. You hear the moans, the groans, the shouts. That is to evoke the spirit, to create emotion, but for a reason. Rhythmic syncopation. Instead of 1 and 3, 1, 3, I do concerts in Europe, and I say, okay, let's put your hands together, everybody, and they're clapping on 1 and 3, 3, 1, 2, 3. When in black music, we 2 and 4, 1, 2, 4, 2, 4, not 1 and 3, just different. But 2 and 4 is considered the weak beat. It's something about taking the weak and making it strong. And so this is the whole rhythmic concept of African American music. The attributes I love are, Tanita is so great at doing these attributes of African vocality. If I do an attribute of African vocality when I'm hanging out with the Louisville Symphony, I get kicked out of the orchestra. But in African American music, it's an attribute. You heard me on my piece, Diaspora, when I did. I did a sound like that. It's 12 notes of music, but that has to be the 13th note that no one knows about. Let's do one example of call and response. This call and response is to unify the group, to create form out of chaos, to codify, to high five. See, that's the amen cadence. That's the amen cadence that they're playing, that we play in church. That's a hard bop selection. So moving right along, the explosion of 1960, the turbulent time of the 1960s, bringing back the rebellion and resistance, we have that prophet, Mr. James Brown. Did we have a 5 seconds of James Brown? Call and response. And look at here. That's all I need. Now, the first thing he opens up, and Fred Wesley, who I work with, was his music director. He was just here a couple weeks ago with the Louisville Symphony. James Brown says a word that you may not be able to find in a dictionary, but it's an attribute of African vocality. He said, ugh! With your bad self. That's an attribute. And then the call and response. And on that particular record, he had a children's choir shouting back, "I'm black and I'm proud." Fred Wesley told me they recorded that record one day in L.A. He didn't know what Brown was doing. We got these children. They did the record, and then they had a gig in Houston, Texas, like 2 days later. Well, the record was put out immediately. The radio stations picked it up, had a gig in Houston, and when he did the gig in Houston, maybe it was a week later, the people were already singing a record with him. He said it was just crazy that music spread that fast, so fast. We're almost out of time. However, I just wanted to illustrate to you that this connection between the spiritual and all of the other genres. Look at John Coltrane, the music of John Coltrane. His Love Supreme is probably one of the most significant pieces in all of the 20th century. But these musicians were serious. They were artists. They were not entertainers. They elect to fight for freedom or slavery, as Paul Robeson would say. A Love Supreme and his many other great contributions. And when Train died, it was a little bit of stalemate in black music in particular, but what emerged was rap of 1979. Now, is rap music black music? Absolutely. The storytelling. Well, I'll have Ja'Cory Arthur give you a little bit of knowledge in this regard.
Let's see if we can put our heads together on what beats? The 2 and the 4, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Can we get a little bass line to help us out? 2, 3, 4. Let's see if y'all know this one. I said a hip, a hop, a hip it to the hop it to the hip, hip hop, and you don't stop to the up jump the boogie to the. There you go, keep it going. What you hearing is not a test. I'm rapping to the beat. It's just me, Moffett, Corey, Mr. Needed. We gonna try to get y'all to move your feet. Now I am Professor Arthur, and I like to say hello to the what? To the. And that's hip hop.
Of that genre, and we're going to close. Give me a little bit of Billie Holiday. I can't go without the Lady Day, God Bless the Child. Just a little snippet of it, please. Of course, Lady Day wrote that beautiful song. On the front line, she was Strange Fruit. Strange Fruit is one of her biggest hits, but this God Bless the Child is beyond category.
Them that's got shall get, them that's not shall lose. So the Bible says, and it still isn't news. Mama may have, Papa may have, but God bless the child that's got his own, that's got his own. Well, the strong get some more, while the weak ones fade. Empty pockets don't ever make the grave. Mama may have, Papa may have, but God bless the child that's got his own. Ooh, that's got his own. Money you got, lots of friends crowding around your door. And when it's gone and the spending they don't come around. Rich relations give a crust of bread and such. You can help yourself, just don't take too much. Mama may have, properly had. But God bless the child that's got his own. Ooh, that's got his own. You gotta have your own.
The great legendary Sidney the Gaines, ladies and gentlemen. Legendary. A treasure. That's going to wrap our presentation. We're out of time, but we have this is just, we can just do a whole series just on that. God bless the child and Billie Holiday. So we'd like to thank you. We'll have Mr. Chris Smith come up.
Can you please give it up for Dr. Moffett one more time? And also his beautiful guests. Please stand and be acknowledged. Please, thank you so much for coming. Please stand and be acknowledged. Y'all did wonderful.
And Ja'Cory out there. And Corey Gaines.
So now we're going to move right into a question and answer for about 10 minutes. We're going to have Miss Tara Bobo and Elena Young, beautiful young Simmons students who have volunteered to work during the question and answer. Please thank them with me. Thank you so much. So what's going to happen is anyone who has a question or comment regarding all of the plethora of material that you have just heard today, you will come and just sit in your seat and raise your hand, and one of our beautiful students will come to you, still holding the microphone in their hands, and will extend it to you so you can make your comment or ask your question. And then Dr. Moffett will start right up with his answer. But I'm going to start it off because there was so much, and I studied music, but I took so many notes because I was just overwhelmed. One of the big things that you said that rang out to me was how spirituals were music phenomena, and that was just awesome because spirituals were the foundation that helped blacks in academia in music take off. The Fisk Jubilee Singers were responsible for concertizing the spiritual and then spreading it all over the world. And then Harry T. Burley in 1915 concertized the spiritual for solo voice with the spiritual Deep River. I know y'all have heard that spiritual. So it really was a jumping off point for musicians, not just in black music, traditional, but in black classical music. I want you to get that in your mind as well. So, Dr. Moffett, you are the head of the jazz program here at Simmons College of Kentucky. And I just want you to kind of elaborate on what's going on with the department, and if you could emphasize the importance to students who are in and outside the department coming and participating.
Well, the core of what we are trying to accomplish has to do with an improvisational theory or improvisational philosophy. The whole concept of improvisation deals with mutuality and respect. The only way that I can improvise and be a good improvisationist, I have to listen and share and communicate. It's actually a kind of a democratic process. And so we want to instill that idea. And also to interview your elders, walk in the footsteps of the giants that came before you, because it's all there. The formula to what we will do in the jazz department, we will stand on those footsteps of giants and invite those masters that come in and talk with the students and validate and be a teachable moment for all the students in the department.
Well said, sir. Well said. All right, let's go ahead and open up the floor to some of our audience members. Once again, if you have a question, please raise your hand, and one of our students will come and give you the mic to speak.
Our United Methodist Hymnal has 29 songs labeled African American spirituals, which they obviously are from their repetition, simplicity, and call and response. My question is, did those songs originate in the slave fields, or were they imported from the slaves' native lands?
It's an American music, with no doubt. A lot of the cusses were lost, but some of the things that, for example, the ring shout was a ceremonial dance in the native land that the enslaved brought with them, that they incorporated in the spirituals. They took bits and pieces of material and pieced the spiritual together. It is definitely not a native land musical form. It is an American musical form, yes.
Thank you so much for your question. We have one right down here on the left.
Dr. Moffett, the aliens have landed and they want to know what black music is. What 3 songs would you suggest for them to listen to?
Well, I just wrote a song called Diaspora. No, I would they need to come to church. And they will get all the rhythm that they need in church and the core values of the ring shout and the unity and the call and response. I would start with the church, because the greatest of the jazz musicians come from the church, even though it was a music that started in the early 1900s. But I would invite them to church. So see me afterwards.
So if you know some aliens, you know where to go. All right. Next question. Let me go ahead and allow her to come on right on back there. I know you're using your outside voice and you're strong. But listen, y'all need to bring nobody back here. I love that.
I'm Terry Turner, by the way, cross-cultural communication major, senior. My question is, now that you brought up diaspora, my question was, what does that mean to you in your own words? Diaspora is a word that we talked about earlier in class this morning, so I feel like that was important. That's something that we need to know a little bit more about.
Well, the lyrics that I wrote with my vocalist, it was a way, it's the triumph. What it means for me is how our people are able to be strong and be triumphant in the face of that type of oppression and horrific inhumanity. And so it is encouraging. It was hope and hopelessness in the same space. But somehow hope won out in that middle passage. And the evidence of it is that we're here. So that's what it means.
Before we make our get our next question, could you expound on, I want to make sure your point is met before you leave. Can you expound on what the actual term diaspora means for her?
Well, it's the hollow space, it's the middle passage in the mid-Atlantic when our ancestors came across the Atlantic in chains. And to be frank, just to lie. And not only, these were children as well. And to lie in their own manure. That's what they had to endure. It saddens me to even think about it. And that is the diaspora that we speak of. The black diaspora.
Thank you so much, Dr. Moffett. Do we have another question? Oh, we have one over here.
Hey, so I saw the picture of the music tree, and I wanted to know, where does country music fall on that tree?
Country music would be a leaf. We have the vine, we have the root, the vine. The vine is the genre's rhythm and blues, very prolific genre of music. Then you have the branches, talk about the styles. Country music will be a leaf on one of the branches of rhythm and blues. That's where it would really fall. And leaves come and go, but seasonal. But it's a part of, it's like saying, where does rock music come on that branch as well? Rock and roll. It's all from the root of the rhythm and blues. And of course, rhythm and blues is the inheritance of the African American folk genres. So it's rooted in the African American folk genres, the ring shouts, the work songs, the spirituals, and the ring shouts.
It looks like that we do not have any further questions, so I would just like to close with this thought from your presentation you just gave. You said taking the weak and making it strong, attesting to the spiritual kind of being a benchmark that tells about how great the African American people were, that even in the midst of oppression and outright just not being considered people at all, they were able to produce so much, and that's just musically. And if you think about it, it's like when you think about artists, whether it's visual artists or musical artists, when they are creating, the most generous of their creativity is produced through pain and suffering. If you think about Thomas Dorsey, who was considered the father of gospel music, after his wife and daughter died, is when you got Precious Lord. And so that is another point of pride for me as an African-American man, to consider that even in the midst of oppression and even in the midst of just the worst words you could think of, you can still produce the most out of it. You can't get no diamond without some pressure and a little heat, yeah? Can we please thank Dr. Moffett one more time?
Thank you so much.
Thank y'all so much. So now we want to take a moment to invite Miss Ingrid Bowman Thomas, who is the director of FACE, which stands for Falcons Academic Center of Excellence, which is like kind of a catch-all just to produce the best students that we can, meeting needs that the teachers can't, right? And so we want to invite her up to talk about Simmons's Executive Leadership Academy. Please give your attention to Ms. Bowman Thomas. Would you like to come up here? Or? Okay.
Good evening, ladies, gentlemen, and Falcon family. I am not going to be before you long because the hour is well spent. I'm certain that you all could hear me, but for the purpose of this particular demonstration, I will hold the mic a little closer. Again, I'm not going to be before you long. I'm not going to belabor the point and waste any more or waste your precious time. So we are here today. I have two students with me to talk about the Executive Leadership Academy at Simmons College of Kentucky. And what the Executive Leadership Academy is, it is an accelerated adult degree completion program designed specifically for adults who either have attended college before, have college credits, but also have a plethora of work experience. And although they are in their careers, they have advanced in their careers, they need a credential in order to advance further or move more upwardly in their particular career or in their chosen profession. So we started the Executive Leadership Academy under the leadership of Dr. Javan Reed last fall, 2022, and we are proud to say we will be graduating our first cohort of students from the Alpha cohort this year. So if you are interested in the Executive Leadership Academy, the classes are one night a week. They are tailored and designed specifically for adult learners, people with lives, people with children, people with things that they have to do. And you can finish, depending on what credential or what college credit or experience you bring in as few as 18 months. So it is our endeavor and it is our goal to help those adult learners reach that potential and reach the pinnacle of what it is they'd like to reach career-wise and to finish what they started academically, perhaps many years ago. To that end, very quickly, I have two students with me who are going to share their experience. We have Mr. Langston Gaither, who is part of our Alpha cohort, who will be graduating in May. So, Mr. Gaither, come on up. And we also have Ms. Quinn Livers, who is part of our Gamma cohort, which is our third cohort. And so she will graduate next year. So they're just going to share very briefly about their experience with the Executive Leadership Academy and tell you some more about what they've done and how it has worked for them. Mr. Gaither.
Thank you, Ms. Bowman Thomas. So my experience with the Executive Leadership Program has been so successful. I'm looking at some professors, Dr. Rich Smith, thank you, and some others that have helped tailor my time here at Simmons so well that I'm done with coursework as of December, and I'm now earning my master's degree at NKU. So it's successful, and it works. And it works for those of us who have a career, who have a job, who have families, just like myself, and we're able to come in one night a week. Sometimes it's online, sometimes it's in person. But when you spend that time there at Simmons, you will get everything you need to prepare yourself to move forward. Whether you're already in your career or wanting to move forward, this is what's helped me to be able to take something back to my job, to my boss, and also implement some of those things that I learned in class. That was the most important thing. And I'm able to move up and move forward in that. And I appreciate everyone that's helped me get to that point. And in the Alpha program, we were kind of like the guinea pigs. We learned a lot, didn't we? So I'm appreciative. So I'll be graduating in May and also finishing that master's degree also in December. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Well, Ms. Ingrid and Langston pretty much summed it up. With the ELA program, it provided me with the flexible learning options to where there again, I have the capability of taking classes online and in person. They understand we have families, we have jobs, we have things to do. So we cannot, attend classes like the traditional student. The ELA program, I love it. It's geared to help you to succeed. The staff, the faculty want you to be successful in the program. It's not easy, but there again, nothing that is worth having is easy. But however, Ms. Ingrid, I was telling her today that it's been plenty of times. I was going to draft up an email and withdraw from the program, and my students in the classroom help me, and we work with each other and we motivate each other to continue to go on. But the ELA program, I love it, and I'm looking forward to graduating next May.
So, after having heard all of that, those wonderful things, I'm certain you're excited and you're energized and you're galvanized and you're excited about joining the ELA program. If you would like more information about the Executive Leadership Academy, please visit us at www.simmonscollegeky.edu, or you can always call 502-776-1443. My extension is 5137. If you don't remember that, just call Simmons and ask for Ingrid. I'm the only Ingrid there. And we'll be more than happy to get you where you need and get you the credential that you so desperately deserve. Thank you.
Close out, I just want to make you aware of a few events that are going on. First, I want to let you know that you need to know your status, and in order to do that, you can go ahead and go to the free HIV testing, which will be held on Wednesday, February 7th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Simmons College of Kentucky at the A&L, we so affectionately call it, which is the Administration and Library Building at 1000 South 4th Street here in Louisville. Also, we have this thing called the Citywide Book Read on February 22nd at 6:30 p.m. featuring Dr. Carol Anderson, who is the author of One Person, No Vote: How Voter Suppression is Destroying Our Democracy. I'm going to interject one thing. If it's not important, nobody will try to steal it from you. I'll just go ahead and throw that in there. Okay, so if it's not important, nobody will rob you of it. So this event will be held at St. Matthew's Episcopal Church, and it's important that you go in for that read. Once again, that's the Citywide Book Read on February 22nd at 6:30. Featuring Dr. Carol Anderson, the author of One Person, No Vote: How Voter Suppression is Destroying Our Democracy. I also want to make you aware that Maddie's Kitchen restaurant is open. I'm about to go in there and see what that's about. And so hopefully you'll come down and join me. And I don't think I see President Cosby. I didn't get to see him. So help me. President Cosby, if you would like to have any words, he said, no, brother, go ahead. So what I'll do is we'll go ahead and complete today's iteration of the West